Well, hey guys, if you've been following along this week in our daily devotionals, you know that we've been taking a look at Paul's letter to the Philippians. So today we're in chapter 1, verses 18 to 30. Let's check it out. It says this: Yes, and I will rejoice, for I know that through your prayers and the help of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, this will turn out for my deliverance, as it's my eager expectation and hope that I will not at all be ashamed, but that with full courage, now as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If I'm to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me. Yet which shall I choose? I can't tell. I'm hard pressed between the two. My desire is to go and depart and be with Christ, for that's far better. But to remain in the flesh is more necessary on your account. Convinced of this, I know that I will remain and continue with you for your progress and joy in the faith, so that in me you may have ample cause to glory in Christ Jesus because of my coming to you again. Only let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you that you're standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, striving side by side for the faith of the gospel, and not frightened in anything by your opponents. For this is the clear sign to them of their destruction, but of your salvation, and that from God. For it's been granted to you that for the sake of Christ, you should not only believe in him, but also suffer for his sake, engaged in the same conflict that you saw I had, and now hear that I still have. Many of Paul's letters have a very stern and corrective tone to them, and rightfully so. There were doctrinal and sin issues that needed addressing. But in Philippians, Paul's tone is a bit more encouraging. He says, "Thanks for your support. You're doing well. Keep on going." Through his letter, you can really see the love that he shares with his brothers and sisters in Philippi. Paul expresses that love starting in verse 21, where he says, For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. For if I am to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me. Yet which shall I choose? I cannot tell. I'm hard pressed between the two. My desire is to depart and be with Christ, for that's far better. But to remain in the flesh is more necessary on your account. If Paul carried on living, his desire was for every aspect of his life to continue to reveal Christ, which would make his life more fruitful. Likewise, his death would be gain, since it would usher him into Christ's presence. But the phrase "is more necessary for you" expresses Paul's servant heart. A selfish outlook would make Paul prefer glorification and reward via death over continued life and ministry. But his priority was that Christ be honored and glorified. He also encourages the Philippians to let their manner of life be worthy of the gospel. What's interesting there is that Paul doesn't give that as an individual instruction on how to do that. He rather collectively calls them to stand firm in one spirit and to have one mind. The literal translation of the word mind there is maybe better translated as soul. Paul's calling them to a deep alignment in the gospel of Christ, and in that we see a collective boldness, a collective sanctification, and shared burdens. There's an incredible bond that's formed in Jesus' family, and it takes intentionality on our part to seek out those relationships. But the love and support that's found through the work of Christ and reflected by his followers is unmatched. One practical step that we can take this week in forming those bonds is to reach out to somebody and be vulnerable with them. It's in that vulnerability that community can take place and those deep relationships formed. Hope that's encouraging to all of you. Going through that certainly was encouraging for me. Take care.